Hey, today, special day, Anthony, because if we can't celebrate me, we're going to celebrate you. What do you think about that?
Let's celebrate me. I like celebrating me.
Yay.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody out there. I'm Glenn Hausman. That's the fabulous, incredible Anthony Melchiori. And you know what, guys? Typically, we show up here for you. But today, that's right. We're going to show up for yourself, right, Anthony? Your brand new book, Show Up, the 5 Steps to Getting Out of Your Own Way. How exciting. It is so much fun to be able to talk to you today about this work, particularly since I've been following this for 3 years, it seems now.
Well, you were one of the first people to read it. You read the manuscript version, and you were very kind in your words. And first of all, let's acknowledge it's been a minute since we've been on the podcast. It's been like 3 weeks, I think, right?
At least. And to be fair to everybody, we have been super busy there, Anthony, running all over the country, doing speaking gigs, doing events, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So let me back up and tell the story. Yep. I don't really kind of tell too many backstories, but I was on the road 2 weeks ago, and we were doing book signings. I was doing development thing for the Air Force, and I was doing keynote speeches and stuff like that.
I will say we were both in Vegas at the same time, but didn't connect. You were coming from the airport. I was going to the airport.
Yeah. And I had thought I got food poisoning, and it wasn't food poisoning. It was, I actually had a gallbladder surgery that got a little complicated, and I was sick for a while, and I'm better now. So if I look a little thinner, it's because I lost a couple pounds. But all during this wonderful week of getting the bestseller and the book being, everybody buying the book, it's been a whirlwind because I was also not feeling great. But now I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling better. And I've been wanting to talk about the book for a while, but this gives us the opportunity to do it. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, it sure does. And I'll tell you, I remember I was pretty sick last year around this time. And it was great because it gave me an advantage. I lost a few pounds. I look good for summer. So you got to stick to the positive of these. I lost more
than a few pounds.
Yeah, I know, but you'll get back to a sweet spot any day now. And you know why you're going to get there? Because you, Anthony, continue to show up for yourself.
You know what was funny about the week that I was really not feeling well?
Yeah.
It was one of the busiest weeks I've had in a long time. And I was in 4 states, 4 states in 3 days. And I had 3 speaking gigs and a bunch of meetings and Zooms and stuff. And as I'm not feeling well, no one really realized I wasn't feeling well. In between everything, I was really sick. But I showed up every time. And I was just like, it's like God's way of saying, yeah, we're going to give you a bestseller and you're going to do well with the book. But, we're going to really see if you show up.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's one of the mysteries of the universe, that the yin and the yang, no matter how good things get, you could always, get sidetracked, but you keep going forward, you keep persisting. And I got to tell you, that's one of the themes that I really got out of showing up for yourself. If I was to quantify the experience of reading this book, it really reinforced a lot of the things that I had already thought and known, but I didn't verbalize it. So it really crystallized it and creating that whole understanding of, what you need to be there for yourself and to really fundamentally understand what that means, different than just showing up every day and being a warm body in a place, but doing it for you. I think that's a message that we don't hear enough. And it was really great to digest it. And it was such an easy and quick read. And it kind of reaffirmed a lot of things that I knew. Awesome stuff, Anthony.
Well, thank you. And one of the reasons I wrote the book is because I show up and people think I'm this, charismatic, kind of outgoing, loud guy that just gets shit done and will kill everything in his path to turn around the hotel and do whatever I need to do. And I think that's not who I am. I'm kind of a loner. I'm more quiet than I am loud.
That's true. Yep.
And most people don't know that. But when I'm tasked with turning around a company or doing a TV show, whatever I have to do, I take it very, very seriously. And, someone said they were doing a predictive index on me, and they said, don't get in between Anthony and his altruistic goals. And usually it's taking care of the employees or taking care of people. Mm-hmm. And as long as you don't get in between that, you're in pretty good shape. So I wanted to kind of talk about in the book that whether you're an accountant, this is really important to me, whether you're an accountant that goes to work 9 to 5, you're really happy, you've been there 30 years, you're waiting to retire, you go to your kids' softball games or you go out on the weekends and you have other hobbies and you're quiet and no one really knows your name, and you just do your job. That's great. And you should be awarded and you should be promoted and you should be, you'll have to be bouncing off the walls to get noticed. And it's kind of showing ways to be who you are, whether you're quiet or loud or whether you're aggressive or not, and still show up for yourself. So it's not about having a TV show or having a podcast, or it's about wherever you are, be there, but make sure you're there where you authentically want to be, and you're using the words. And I talk about words in my book, and I'll read the book words.
Hold on one second, Anthony, because you brought up authentically, and I'm actually checking some of the reviews here on Amazon, and there's something that really just kind of hits that. One of the favorite quotes from the book, maybe you want to read it. It's on page 88, 89. It's quoted in this review by Limitless, who says, if you love Anthony for any reason, if you have an ounce of respect for this man, or if you secretly wish you had his chutzpah, skip the ebook and buy the actual book. It's large print, easy to read. You'll be scribbling notes and earmarking new things every time you pick it up. Now, the quote starts with, Anthony, you have to go for what you believe will help you live more authentically.
Yeah,
do you have that?
Yeah. So when you decide on a career, you have to go for what you believe will help you live more authentically. In order to achieve this, though, you sometimes have to slay your dragon. You will cry. You will question yourself. You will be scared shit. I didn't say shit, but But throw your heart over the wall, and your body will follow.
Yep. And
I'm a big believer in the philosophy, in that philosophy. But there's one thing I like to add to it. Before you throw your heart over the wall, make sure there's not a bunch of crocodiles on the other side waiting to devour you. Sometimes real passion will get you in trouble. And that's kind of the book right there. That book, it's in a quote. I'm passionate. I throw my heart over the wall and my body follows.
Yep.
But I'm extremely calculated. I don't take uncalculated risks. I don't jump out of airplanes, but I'll drive around the track at 180 miles an hour because I'm driving the car. I know the car. I know how to drive the car. I know what to do if I slide. I know how to spin the car out. I know how to save myself. I still may die, but I feel in control. I jump out of an airplane, that's a problem. So when people are transitioning, they're stuck in a job, whatever job it is, they want to go do something else. You need FU money. You need a calculated risk. You need to prepare yourself before you just throw your heart over the wall. And just before you jump in with the crocodiles, you've got to have calculated risk. One of the reasons restaurants go out of business in 6 months or a year is because they don't have cash flow for 6 months in a year. One of the reasons I haven't opened a hotel, or I've had a couple, but the reason I haven't opened a lot of businesses is because I was like, oh, okay, I don't really have a couple of years worth of cash flow to run through my business. So let me get ready to do that. So it's really about showing up for yourself, but being calculated and being prepared.
Right.
It's not being haphazard.
I do want to tell everyone, yes, we are live today. So if you have a question for Anthony about the book, show up. If any comment about maybe you read it and you've adapted some of the 5 steps there to getting out of your own way and you're finding success with that, let us know. Anthony, one of the things about being authentic, it could be sometimes tough. It's hard to tap into that. It took me a lot of years to do that because I think a lot of us think we're supposed to behave in a certain way that prevents us being entirely ourselves. How have you thought that through? And how do you get through blocking out others people's perceptions in order to allow you to be the ultimate you?
My goals are typically my first goals are not selfish. They're usually to help someone with a failing business. It's usually to help a team kind of be the best they can be.
Right.
So typically my goals, now, of course, I want to make money and I want to be promoted and I want to do well, but those aren't my first visions. My first vision is I want a challenge of doing something very few people were able to do, whether it be turning around a hotel, whatever I'm given, I want it to be really, really hard. And once it's really hard, it's typically for the owner who's, got a lot of money at risk, or the employees that feel disenchanted. And I feel motivated by that, by not disappointing anyone. So, and I always tied into the 5 words, and I'm going to read the words now: relevancy, consistency, authenticity, flexibility, and durability. So the relevancy, if you're taking over a business or whatever, you got to be relevant, right? You got to get the business relevant.
Right.
And, you got to be consistent in the way you hand out the vision, whether it be discipline, whether it be motivation. Authenticity, once you're trying to act like you know what you're doing, and I'll give you an example. Once you act like you know what you're doing and you don't know what you're doing, everybody around you knows you don't know what the hell you're doing.
That's right.
I mean, how many examples do you have of a boss you worked for that may believe they knew what they were doing, but everybody knew they didn't know what they were doing?
Yeah, I definitely have a couple of bosses like that who shall remain nameless out of respect for those people. But it's true, and it's so frustrating. And one of the things that I've had with the past boss is like having to allow them to pretend that they know what they're doing in order for you to find some sort of peace and success in that job.
I talk about a guy named John Paulson in the book, and he actually ordered the book. I just saw it on my website, and I'm going to send him a signed copy. And I didn't know what I was doing in this job, and he basically saved my butt. And I told him, I said, dude, you should have this job, not me. And I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from you, and I'm going to work hard. And I eventually knew what I was doing. But he saved my butt. But I didn't pretend I knew what I was doing. I didn't pretend that I should have his job over him. I shouldn't.
Right.
I pretend that I was making more money than him, and it was okay. I told him I shouldn't be making more money than you. I shouldn't have this job, and you should be my boss. You should teach me how to do this job before I was given this job. Those are the moments I think people start to kind of say, okay, maybe I'm pissed off, or I should have gotten the job, but the guy's at least honest. I remember taking over Nickelodeon Hotel, and when I got the job as vice president, I got on stage in front of all the employees, and I said, I never ran a hotel in Orlando. I never ran an entertainment hotel. I never ran a hotel with slides and entertainment and 100,000 square feet of pools. I've never worked in Florida. I've never had 2,100 employees. So who better than me to run your hotel?
Right.
And everybody started to laugh.
Well, it definitely breaks the tension, right?
It not only breaks the tension, I never want to be the butt of the jokes that I'm not there for.
Right.
Like, I don't mind if everybody makes fun of me if I'm in the room.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't want to be walking out of the room and everybody said, why is this guy here, or this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Like, say that in front of me. And so once I put it out there, so the book talks about some funny stories, some sad stories. So it's not chronological, and it's not about my personal life. It's not about anything like that. It's about stories, like the introduction stories about something when I was younger and I needed the money, I needed the job. I didn't take the job because this was one guy I didn't think was really a good guy. And I didn't know he wasn't a good guy because I didn't really know him. I didn't really talk to him. But my instincts told me if you worked with him, you would probably short circuit your career.
Right.
And eventually it turned out that he wasn't a great guy. And so it's about trusting your instincts, like I said, authenticity and flexibility. As I got older, I realized
what do you mean by flexibility, though? Could you go into a little bit more of that in how it relates to what you were going to say next?
When you're not sure if you're right, are you going to let your ego tell you you're right? Or are you going to be flexible and saying, well, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop my ego and I'm going to be flexible to this situation. There's times where I've let other people, most of the time, let other people win, let them take the ball when I'm not really sure if they're right. And I'm really not sure if I should be doing it, but I'm being flexible because if you're rigid, you break.
Right.
So a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people, and I didn't do that early in my career. However, there are some times when you're taking over a business or you're doing something where there's not a lot of flexibility, because if everything was going well, the team that was in place wouldn't need me to come in. So there's sometimes where I'm not that flexible. If I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. But a lot of times, you need to be really flexible. And one of my favorite words is durability. we've all been through a shit show in the last couple of years. We're going through it now with politics. We're going through it with what's going on in the world. We're going up with it with AI. You know, how scary is that? We're going with it with everybody's on their friggin' cell phones. No one's looking in the eye. Everybody tells me nobody wants to work, but I don't think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody wants $1 million an hour. Again, I don't know if that's true. But at the end of the day, it seems like everything's upside down and backwards. So with those moments when you're getting crushed and your soul's getting crushed, your durability is the only thing that's going to trump everything else. It's going to trump your authenticity. It's going to trump your flexibility. It's going to trump your consistency. If you're durable and you can take the pain and you can move forward, however that is, if you need to go to Pilates, if you need to go take a walk in the forest, if you need to go to the beach, whatever you need to do to keep yourself in the game. There's many times, not only years ago, but even recently, where I felt like I was getting crushed.
Right.
And you've got to save yourself. And whatever it is that you need to do, it's not alcohol, it's not drugs, it's got to do with an inner peace that you have to find. And I really don't talk too much about how I find it. What I talk about is stories of the other words, the flexibility and everything else that gets me to my durability.
Well, the whole thing is for you to be able to show that you've been through this too. And by doing that in such a straight up, easy to read fashion, people realize that they too can do it by recognizing certain benchmarks in their lives. In fact, M. Cox, or Koch, I don't know how it's pronounced. Sorry, M. I was familiar with Anthony Melchiori from his show Hotel Impossible and loved his style, but his book brings the substance that his style come from. The way it's written feels like you're having a conversation with Anthony. He's giving you great advice and empowering you to be your best. Straightforward with really great stories to drive home the points and handy end of chapter takeaways that I photographed on my phone and can look at to remind me of the important points. Great read and great advice. I love that one, man. Taking the pictures and reminding themselves of it.
Well, two things. One, John Walcott, who's my co-writer. Mm-hmm. There's no book without John. Period. End of story.
I don't know how he captured your voice so amazingly, too. Fantastic.
He is a man that I knew through a friend who wrote a book with him. And my wife liked the book. And I was like, all right, let me talk to John. And John has been an absolute savior. He doesn't live in America. And so I'd have to call him at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, his time. And we would talk 2 hours, maybe twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes once a week, sometimes once a month, over a period of years. And we got lost in the book. And then we found our way back because of him. And when I tell you he's one of the greatest people I've ever had the fortune of knowing, he really, and if you know me, I am not easy to deal with when it comes to keeping my focus for a period of writing a book. So it was a little sketchy.
Suzanne's laughing behind stage. Yeah.
and when go back in the hole. And I was talking to Suzanne. She came up just to laugh in my face. Yeah. And there was a moment, I'm going to be honest, there was a moment kind of, I'd say 6 months ago, where he got mad at me because I wasn't holding my end of the bargain. I told him I would do some things for the book that I wasn't doing. I was in I was in a funk and I just couldn't get there. And he wrote me an email that scared me because when people like him write you an email that's pretty direct, you realize that you went over a line and you took advantage of somebody, and I felt horrible. Right. I didn't do it on purpose. I was just going through some stuff, and I just couldn't focus. And then I got focused because of his email, and then I had my friend.
Dare I say, did you decide to show up for yourself?
Well, yeah, I guess I did. and then my friend Mark at Alternatives in New York, marketing company, he said to me the chapter takeaways aren't good. He said they're not substantive. And the reason I laughed when you were reading that comment, he said you need to bullet point it and you need to put a quote at the bottom of each takeaway, each page that has the takeaways, and you have to frame it so people can take pictures of it and hang it up. Yeah. He literally said those words. He said people are going to take that and they're going to take pictures of it. So it was really, and there was other people that helped me. My friend who's a doctor who does a lot of editing for medical journals, he kind of went through it and helped us fix some stuff.
Yeah.
So we really did it ourselves, me and him. We just helped some friends. And I don't want it to ever be lost that it's my book. It's John and my book, because John was incredible.
That's fantastic.
And then you said he captured my voice is the biggest compliment.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, you sound like you in this book. And while I was reading it, I spent a Sunday morning reading it. I guess it was a couple of months ago already, the first time I read it, and I just felt like you were in the room with me. I heard your voice in my head, but to be fair, I wake up with those nightmares all the time, hearing your voice in my head. But in this case, I really did. It was amazing. You
know what if I really had to kind of define what the book is for me, is shit ain't easy.
Right.
And it's not pretty. And you've got to believe in a mission. You've got to have something stronger than yourself to believe in. And you have to want to do, and this is my perspective, you have to want to do better. You have to want to help people. Even if it's taking a business and helping somebody who has a lot of money turn around their business. Because in turning around that business, you're helping the guests that come to the hotel. You're helping the employees that work in that hotel.
Right.
And there's something just pure about that. I'm doing something. I know you and I are going out to the AHLA conference, the summit in Vegas.
The hospitality show. Go check it out. Thehospitalityshow.com. See you there. Yeah.
And I've been asked to, before they hand out the GM awards, I've been asked to kind of give a 5-minute speech on what it means to be a GM.
Awesome.
And I think, when you're 7 years old, you want to be a cop, a fireman, a nurse, a doctor, whatever you want to be. How many people at 7 turn to their mother and say, I want to be a general manager of a hotel?
I think that would be carry the 2. 0 would be the answer on that one.
So at 7 years old, 8, 9, 10 years old, I knew I wanted to run a hotel. I always knew.
That's amazing. Really?
I didn't know why. I didn't know.
I'm learning something new here about Anthony. I didn't even know you knew what a hotel was, considering your upbringing at that very early
age. I knew because we would go to Florida to my uncle's hotel. It was a little hotel in Miami, and never went behind the front desk, never talked to him about it, never knew anything about the hotel. But it was kind of fascinating that people lived in the hotel, meaning they were on vacation, but they lived in the hotel. And I never was drawn to it like from a passionate standpoint, but it was like everybody wanted to be a cop or a fireman. I guess I wanted to be in a hotel, but I don't know. I don't know what it's about. But it was like literally, again, it was almost a spirit that just put their hand on my shoulder and said, you're going in the hotel business, don't question it, and it's going to be okay. And then once I got into the hotel business, it's so complicated to learn that it just like challenged every competitive juice in my body.
Right.
And now, I mean, it's like, I don't know if you can be happier doing what I do for a living. I just don't know if it's possible. Running hotels, I just don't know if there's anything that would ever make me happier. And so,
you mean other than working with me, I guess.
Yes, of course. That's okay.
Checking.
Why would I even say that? So, it was really, so the book is about. I don't care what it is. Like my daughter once said to me, "Dad, not everybody loves their job as much as you." I said, "That's fine, but love something as much as I love this. Like love art, love guitar, love drums, love coaching your kids little league. But you got to find something that is bigger than yourself, where you can find a way to really give back and help people." And I just, I didn't realize how much I enjoyed that part of it until I wrote the book.
Yeah. And one person that really agrees with that particular philosophy is Alex Goldstein, who says, I was inspired by this book, despite not even being in the hospitality industry. Anthony has a way of showing you the tools you need to make sure you are literally showing up for yourself in all aspects of life. I'd recommend to anyone who wants to level up. So
and I'll tell you about Alex. Alex is one of my producers on the show and a friend of mine. And I didn't know he wrote that until I just read it the other night. And he said something to me that really helped me kind of calm my brain about 10 years ago. Maybe even less than that, maybe a few years ago. We're doing some social media stuff, and social media team asked a lot of my friends and people on social media, like, how would you describe me? And he said, fair. And that to me is my favorite word to describe me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean I'm nice. It doesn't mean I'm mean. It means I'm fair, which means you're going to get a fair shot. Yep. And to me, when I go through the stories in the book, I was always trying to be fair. I was trying to be fair to the producers. I was trying to be fair to the audience. I was trying to be fair to the owners of the hotels. I was trying to be fair to myself. I'm trying to be fair to everyone. But sometimes when you're the quarterback, because as a general manager or you're the host of the show, you're the quarterback. And sometimes you got to throw the ball where somebody doesn't think or expect the ball is going to go. And those are the hard shots. Mm-hmm. But I believe in myself, and if I believe that I'm being fair and authentic, it'll be okay. So that's kind of really the stories in the book are just about, don't give a shit what people think about you. Give a shit about doing the right thing.
Right. And if you do the right thing, people will have positive thoughts about you, or at least think you're fair, which is pretty awesome. I really like that description of you. I think it really fits because no matter what, you really hear everything, and you are right on target with your advice or whatever you need to get done.
Right. And I like to think, that my instincts also, that's another thing in the book. If you read through the book, it's like I said in the first story I tell, I did something that only 30 years later, I realized was the right thing to do. I kind of knew it was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But when I got an email from somebody and I saw, oh my God, this is what this person, who he was, it really kind of said, how did I know that? How did I know that? And I remember talking to John about this story, and it didn't wind up in the book. And I go, John, that story's not in the book. And he goes, yeah, there's enough stories. I don't think that's an important story. I don't think that's fine. We have enough stories. I go, John, that's the book.
Yeah.
That's the book. Like, it's got to be in the intro with the first chapter. It's the book. It's when I was 29, I had, I didn't have a reputation. I was trying to build myself a reputation. I didn't have any foundation. I was trying to get money for a house. I was trying to feed my family. And I walked away from a lucrative job because of my instincts. That's the book.
Yep.
That's the book.
Yep. That's awesome.
The book is, if you feel something, how many people are in positions where they put themselves and then they blame the situation? Well, you put yourself in the situation. Mm-hmm. So maybe you didn't know your boss was an idiot. Maybe you didn't know that you weren't going to get a raise. Maybe you didn't know the job was more complicated. Whatever it is. And you can blame your boss, you can blame the environment, you can blame all of that. But at the end of the day, you made a decision, and you made the decision with as much information as you had. And you didn't make a bad decision. You just made a decision that didn't work out. And if it didn't work out, stop blaming everyone around you. Stop blaming yourself. Give it up. And just move on and change. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to get what you want. Because no one, like I say in the quote in the book, UPS isn't going to bring success in a box. Mm-hmm. I'm about to announce something that you and Suzanne know about. Yep. That I'm going to do at the end of June, at the end of May. I'm not ready to announce it right now, but it's done. It's all, I've been working on for 2 years, and you know how hard it was to get that thing accomplished. Mm-hmm. And it was just every single day getting up and not taking no for an answer.
Right.
And just going over the wall, through the wall, or under the wall.
I got a question for you in that regard, Anthony, because it's so difficult for people to sometimes see things through that could take a year, 2 years, 3 years to get done. How, particularly as someone who sometimes has focus issues, how do you remain resilient and focus on achieving that particular goal? For me, I'm like, I might as well do it because a year from now, it'll be a year from now, and I might as well have gotten something accomplished. But how do you actually get it done?
The truth is, I don't have focus issues. The truth is, I just don't focus on shit I don't want to focus on.
Yep.
And so I'm very focused. I'm probably the most focused person you know. I just don't really like to focus on a lot of things that I want to focus on, so I don't. And but the things that are important to me, I focus on. And it's just, it's sometimes it's just the atmosphere and the environment conspiring for your success. I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
And you've been a big part of the next project I'm working on, because during the pandemic, you and I were out of our minds like everybody.
Yep.
And we went and we did a town hall, which is this podcast. And through this podcast, which I didn't really know if I should be doing, I didn't really know if it was the right thing for my career. I didn't know it was the right thing for my image. I didn't know it was the right thing for anything. I just knew that I trusted you.
Mhm.
I knew you made this easy for me. And I knew I liked talking to you. And I know I like talking to these people. I didn't care about my image. I didn't care about, was this right for my career? I didn't care if I was making money from this.
Mhm.
I didn't know. When people say, well, Anthony, you're doing a podcast, is that really, and you have a co-host, and like you're not that guy. You're a guy who does his own thing and you're a renegade. I'm like, no. That's not who I am. Who I am is I focus on things that make me feel good and that are fun. So during the podcast, I met a lot of people that I wouldn't have met without you. And I was able to keep those relationships going. And I reached out to some people and I was able to kind of make some connections I wouldn't have made without making a decision to do a podcast that a lot of people told me I shouldn't have done.
It's interesting. So how did you then tap into your authentic self and actually listen to your gut? Because people typically, well, not typically, a lot of people sometimes struggle with doing what they know is right when they feel it, but they still go the opposite way because they feel they have to or should or have been told that that's the way to go.
Because I like you. You're easy to deal with.
Thanks. I'm wonderful. I know that. But I mean, more generally speaking, so people could put in there, so people could, have it be part of their lives.
I've wanted to kill you. I've been mad at you twice, but only wanted to kill you once. And that wasn't too long ago.
But you've recovered now. You're home. You're healing.
I don't know if I've recovered from that one yet. But I forgive you.
Thank you. But you know what I'm saying. Generally speaking, how can people that apply that to themselves? That
it's my instinct of, I enjoy working with you. I think it's really friggin' cool that I get to talk to people that I can't even get an appointment with. But they'll come on my podcast and they'll talk to us about anything. And then as we were doing it, I was like, this is such a need. Remember that first year? Every single human being in the industry was listening to this podcast.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And we had the biggest people in the industry. We've had presidents of industry, presidents of brands tell us, Anthony, we were taking notes about how other people were doing it from your show. We were losing our own way. Management companies were saying that, and we were seeing how other people were doing it, and it gave us resilience to keep moving forward. So that's how, and so by doing it and doing the right thing, it came back to me by other things happening that I really wanted to accomplish. So it's just going forward. You don't have a choice. I don't have a backup plan. I don't have a backup plan. I don't have, an inheritance to fall back on. I don't have, like, whatever I have to build, and I've built. And so every single day I've got to continue to do that, but I do it in a way where I only want to be around people I enjoy being with. And I will cut people out of my life pretty quickly if they're not nice. They're not good people.
Yeah, and that could be a challenging thing to do. I think I've gotten better at that as I've gotten older. Eliminate those toxic people. Only surround myself with people that bring me joy and help me be a better person at the end of the day. Anthony, one hotel GM is saying, partially in the review, it's a great refresher for them, and I highly recommend reading this book many times. Lots of information. I've now read it twice. We'll read it again. Every time I read it, I learn something new. First time I read it with great enthusiasm. Now I truly read it to learn and apply. Thank you, Anthony. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's, and one of my favorite quotes from the book, I was going through these quotes. I literally just sat here with my hand in this seat and sat here with my hands on my face going, I need a quote for this section. And there was one section, and I was like, okay, what's the quote? And they go, show up for yourself or don't. That to me is my favorite and I think greatest quote I've ever had come out of my mouth. At the end of the day, you show up or you don't. There's a choice. Yep. You have a choice. It's not that your kids are not, are giving you a hard time. It's not that your boss is giving you a hard time. You're not making enough money. You're not doing this. You're having failures, which we've all had and continue to have. It's show up or don't. That's it. Right. Like there's no choice. There's no choice. I think where people get into problems is when they have too many choices, and where if you're in a situation where you really weren't struggling in your life and you really had everything handed to you, and there's a lot of great things. I mean, everything's easy, and then when you hit a couple of road bumps, you don't know what to do. Good or bad, I've had a lot of road bumps in my life.
Yeah.
So it's not like when you get hit with a road bump, you're like, oh shit, I don't know that feeling. There's some feelings I never want to know because there's some road bumps I never want to experience. But there are a lot that I have. And so it's just like, who cares? Nobody cares, Anthony. No one cares that if you're going through some stuff. No one cares if you fail. I didn't realize I got fired twice until I freaking wrote the book. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't get laid off. I got fired. and I realized in writing the book, I failed more than I succeeded, I think.
Right.
Matter of fact, I don't talk about so many of the successes. I talk more about the challenges. And
you learn about places you grew as a human being in order to help other people grow and show up for themselves. And that's really kind of what the common theme was. Anthony, you're a sage, kind of like Master Yoda, who said, do or do not, there is no try. That reminds me of your last quote.
Right. It's show up or don't show up. And at the end of the day, no one gives a shit. Yeah. That you got to understand that no one cares. No one cares if I'm ever on TV again. Nobody cares if I can pay my mortgage. No one cares if I can, pay due tuition. No one cares, right? No one cares that, no one cares. I care, so I got to make sure that I do the right things, and I have. Mm-hmm. And to me, and also people waste too much time in a bad situation. They waste too much time. If you're not making enough money or you're in a career that you don't like, the longer you stay in that career, the further you are away from your dream and your goal. You did it. You did it a couple of years ago or 10 years ago, 12 years ago when you said, I'm going to start a podcast, right? You and Joe Rogan, the only two people who had a podcast. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you had to do it. And you did it out of desperation because you couldn't stand it anymore.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. My whole career, the last 7 years, was built on everything I wanted to do because I couldn't stand having to do things that weren't true to my authentic self. Anthony, I think this is probably a good time for me to bring this up on the screen. How do you get your own book? Well, you can go to shop.anthonymelcuri.com. That's shop.anthonymelcuri.com. Check it out right here. Get yourself a copy. And Anthony, how are you doing? How are you doing autographed books?
Well, okay. So if you go to shop at anthonymelcuri.com or anthonymelcuri.com, you get a signed autograph. You get a book with an autograph in it.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
I personalized it. If you go to Amazon, you just get the book. So if you want an autograph copy, you just go to shop at anthonymelcuri.com.
Yep.
Or anthonymelcuri.com. My website's right there. And I want to apologize to everyone that has signed up. I got a lot of books going out. Unfortunately, the books that the author bought that we're allowed to buy from Amazon went to the wrong address. So I just got them 2 days ago, and we're going to be sending them out this week. So no one got their autograph copy yet. So I apologize. They will be going out this week, and we have a batch of new books coming in tomorrow. So order the book and we'll get it out straight away.
What about Canada? Do signed books ship to Canada?
Apparently, I've had orders from France, from Belgium, from Canada, and some other places. And then when we send them out, we're going to find out how much I didn't make on the book because I didn't charge enough for shipping.
Yeah, probably. But who cares?
But that's okay. But that's okay. You're going to get the book. Even if I lose money, you're going to get the book.
You could write it off as a marketing tool because now you can say sold in France, Belgium, Canada.
Yeah. Listen, and if you bought a book and you didn't get an autographed copy, just DM me and I'll send you a copy. I'll send you an autographed copy.
That's right. Or send us something over to here at No Vacancy Live. Remember, go to shop.anthonymelcury.com. Shop.anthonymelcury.com. Show up for yourself. First step of that is getting the book. Yeah, Anthony?
I want to talk about another word that we don't talk about enough, and I talk about it in the book, and it's called leverage. Mm-hmm. And people think leverage is a bad word. And I'm going to tell you leverage is not only not a bad word, leverage is kind of a lot of times sometimes all you have. You maybe not have the money to start a business. Maybe you don't have the wherewithal to start a business. But if you have a brand and if you have a reputation and you have the leverage, you can walk into any conference in the world, in the hotel industry, and you're the guy. You're the guy above every other podcaster, above me, above everyone. The only person that may kind of be in your league is Chip Rogers, right? Yep. Chip Rogers knows everybody.
He's the rock star.
But you have leverage. You have leverage because of what you've done for years and years and years, and how many conversations you've had over a drink to just build your leverage. So leverage is not only money, it's influence. It's so whatever you do in life, build your leverage, and use your leverage to get what you need and get what you want. But using leverage doesn't mean other people lose. If another person loses and you win, you lose. Everyone's got to win. Or you sometimes have to win a little bit more than somebody else, or somebody else has to win a little bit more than you.
Right.
But at the end of the day, using your leverage is not bad.
Right. And let me give one example of how that's good. I have been spending years and years and years showing up for myself by being at all of these events and being out there to help others. Now I'm working with a number of companies and I'm facilitating a lot of these relationships behind the scenes that nobody sees or nobody understands. But I'm able to go to these XYZ top executives, get an email in their email box, and they are going to talk to my clients because I've built up that trust and I have that leverage, and I'm not asking them for a favor. I'm giving them an idea or something that might help improve their businesses as well. But I could never have gotten to that point and be listened to and have that email read if I didn't spend years and years and years and years focused on the road.
100%. And, the project I'm about to announce, I can't tell you, I will tell you, every single person I'm dealing with said this: we only do this because of you, because of you, Anthony, because you come through. We wouldn't do this with anybody else. And it's 30 years of most of the time doing what I say I'm going to do.
That's right.
And that's the leverage. The leverage is I knew that I can kind of squeeze through that wall, through that hole that no one else could do. Because I knew when I asked the question, my reputation would probably get a yes.
Yep.
And based on the last, when I did all my shows, that I showed that we did it. Our last show was our best show.
Yep.
So and even when I did the book, the reason my co-writer, John, got a little antsy with me is because I wouldn't let it out until the cover was right, until the takeaways were right. Not that he would, but I was just struggling desperately with the book, that when it went out, I didn't want to go ask everyone, go to Amazon, just say great things about me because you read. I want people to authentically say nice things about the book. And when you said it's easy to read, it's a fast read, and people have been saying that, it's in your voice, the cover looks like me, it's got my energy, like all of that, like I struggled with all that. And when I got it right by people saying the nice things, it was worth it.
Yeah, and I do want everybody to know that I genuinely liked this book, and I think you will too. Again, check out shop.anthonymelcury.com. That's shop.anthonymelcury.com. Anthony, any final words before we wrap up today's episode?
I'd like to read a couple of quotes, if I may.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Bite off more than you can chew, and then chew it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I'm in that mode right now. Go on.
You can't predict when life will throw a curveball, but you can decide to hit it or not.
Right, love it.
Right? I tried being someone else, but it wasn't as much fun as being me. The good thing about being yourself is that's all you got, man.
Well, you got one more quote that Dr. Producer Suzanne said we should say. Don't sweat the small stuff. Obsess about the small stuff. It ties to the final process of getting that book out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's and anybody that's ever worked with me knows I'm a perfection. Almost, I have to call myself an almost perfectionist because there's no perfection. But I'm very, very, like, when it gets to the nitty gritty of stuff going out, and whether it be a book or a show or whatever, I'm maniacal and in my thinking, and there's no talking to me until it's exactly the way I know it's got to be. I'm crazy. I'm absolutely insane. I'm out of my mind.
Yeah.
And that's where you need to be to do your best work.
Yep. For sure. And guys, go get the book. And if you want to reach Anthony direct, of course, he's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. Find our show on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your shows. We are there. And be sure to download if you're downloading the audio version, why not watch us online? Watch us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all those kind of great places. Anthony, great show today. This was a lot of fun.
It was fun. Hey, I like talking about me. I'll be at High Tech and I'll be at the hospitality show in Vegas, High Tech in Canada at the end of June. I will be there signing books as well, not only doing some speaking. So please stop by. As a matter of fact, Glenn, we got to talk about what we're doing. So I know what I'm doing. But yeah, so and I'm going to do a couple of meet and greets and stuff over the next couple of months.
Yep.
Thank you for supporting the book, Glenn. Thank you everyone for supporting the book. Of everything I've ever done in my career, this seemed to be more difficult than anything else. I've never had trouble watching myself on TV. I've never had trouble producing a show. I've never had trouble turning around a hotel or feel like those things, they were hard, but they came naturally. This book was very, this was a big challenge. So thank you.
So last question before we go. Does that make this accomplishment feel sweeter than the others?
No. This accomplishment is just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's done. So when things are done, they're done. And it was just one of those things I had to do. So it's definitely not sweeter than anything else or less sweet. I think the podcast is as sweet as the book. I think the show or speaking gig, like I'm so thankful and grateful for anything that I'm allowed to do and that I'm able to do and that people accept me doing. I just live in gratitude. So it's sweet or not sweet. I'm just really grateful.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations again. And thanks for watching. We'll be back with another live show tomorrow. And until then, remember, you got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See y'all later.
And show up.